Hey guys, welcome to my Week 11 Best Bets video for the 2023 NFL football season. Today, we will be looking at who's going to win, who's going to lose, what the money lines, overs, and the spreads will be on the Week 11 football game. So hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get started. So last night, we had the Ravens beating the Bengals 34-20. Mark Andrews, he is out for the year, and Joe Burrow was pretty banged up, and he had to leave the game first half. But kicking off Sunday at 1 p.m. on CBS, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at 6-3 versus the Browns at 6-3. Cleveland is 1-point favorites here, so this game is virtually a pick-em, and the over-under is 32.5. So with this game, this is kind of a tough one because the Browns were pretty heavy favorites, and then Deshaun Watson is now out for the season with a banged-up shoulder. So that kind of threw this game into a loop. They are still the favorites as of right now, but like we said, this game is virtually a pick-em. The Browns do have the number one defense in the NFL right now, so they can rely on that to keep the game close. But with Dorian Thompson starting at quarterback for the Browns, we just don't know what we're going to get out of him. Will he play well? Will he be susceptible to the Steelers' pass rush led by a TJ Watt? We don't know yet just because we haven't seen enough of him. So we're kind of going into this game somewhat blind just because we don't know what we're going to get out of the Browns. Now, with the Steelers, we know what we are getting. They have a top 10 defense, and their offense is complete garbage. So they are what we know they are, basically. So we're not going to be surprised by Pickett coming out, maybe throwing one touchdown and throwing two picks. That just is what it is. That's the way that he plays every week. But at least we know what we're getting there, so we're not going to be surprised. So that's what leading me to go with the Steelers winning this game 17-14. So I'm going with that +1, but I'm going with the under. But the Browns can win because this is a defensive battle. It's just we don't know what we're getting on the other side of the ball, and I hate not knowing that. The next game we have at 1 p.m. is on Fox. We have the Chicago Bears at 3-7 versus the Detroit Lions at 7-2. So the Lions are 7.5-point favorites here, and the over-under is 47.5. With this game, Justin Fields, will he start? That's the biggest question mark. If he starts versus the Browns, he was actually having a pretty decent year up till he got hurt. Seems like it's been like 2 months now, but he got hurt a long time ago. He has been out since then, but he was throwing the ball well. He was running the ball well. For the Detroit Lions, they have a top 10 defense. They have a top 10 offense. They have the better playmakers. They have Jared Goff at quarterback. They have Montgomery at running back. They have Brown at wide receiver. This is a very talented team. They are at home. This game will be cold. With the Bears, Justin Fields could keep this game close, but no matter what, they will still lose just because they're not that talented on the roster, and they have a god-awful defense. So I have the Lions winning this one 31-20, so I have them covering that spread, and I'm going with the over as well. At 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the 4-5 LA Chargers versus the 3-6 Green Bay Packers. Chargers come into this game as 3-point favorites, and the over-under here is 43.5. So with the Chargers, they have the playmakers. They have Herbert, they have Eckler, they have Allen. They don't have Williams, but they don't need him so far right now. But the Chargers do have a lot of holes on the defensive side of the ball. For the Packers, they really don't have much going for them. They have, I would say, an average defense, but they have a very bad offense. They cannot run the ball. Jordan Love has been better the last 2 to 3 weeks, but he's still pretty bad, so that really doesn't matter. So Chargers should control this game. Packers cannot stop the run, so look for Eckler to have a big day. I have the Chargers getting the win here, 27-20, so I have them covering, and I'm going with the over again as well. Next game we have at 1 p.m. on CBS, we have the 5-5 Las Vegas Raiders versus the 6-3 Miami Dolphins. Miami is 13.5-point favorites here. The over-under is 46.5. So they have this game being a high-scoring game for the Dolphins. So with the Raiders, obviously they have Pierce as the head coach right now. Josh McDaniels has been fired. They've won every game, 2-0 under Pierce. But at some point, the honeymoon has to end. This is the game that it ends. Raiders have a very good roster, but they've had a lot of issues so far this year. Dolphins are coming off the bye, so they should be rested. They have the playmakers. They have Tua. They have Mostert. They have Hill, Waddle, Berrios. The list goes on, and they are rested. Now, they are 6-3, but they want to take command of their division. Bills are 5-5, so this is their chance to cement themselves in the lead. So look for the Dolphins to score fast, quick, and the Raiders do not have the offense to be in a shootout with the Dolphins. You have to be able to outscore the Dolphins to beat them. And they actually have a pretty decent rush defense. That's about all that they can stop, but look for them to bottle up Jacobs. I have the Dolphins winning 34-20, covering the spread, and I'm going with the over here. Next game at 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the 2-8 New York Giants. They have absolutely nothing going for them right now. They can't score, and they have the worst defense in the NFL versus the 4-6 Washington Commanders. Washington comes into this game as 9-point favorites here. The over-under is 37.5. So with the Giants, like I said, they really can't do anything. They have a decent run game. That's about it. They cannot throw the ball. They cannot stop anyone rushing or passing. So that's why they're just getting torched every single weekend. For the Commanders, they're 4-6. They have a lot of issues on the defensive side of the ball. But Sam Howell is actually having a pretty decent year so far this year. I think he's number 3 for total yards, and he has 2,800 yards, 17 touchdowns, 9 picks. So he's actually doing pretty good for being the most beat up, most sacked, most rushed quarterback in the NFL this year. But look for Washington because they actually have a good offense. They should be able to score on the Giants. They do not have a good defense, but the Giants have absolutely no offense, so they will not be able to take advantage of Washington's issues. So look for Washington to cruise to the win here. I have them winning 27-17, covering the spread, and I'm going with the over. And I think that's pretty kind, giving the Giants 17 points. At 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the 6-3 Cowboys, who have been pretty hot since they lost to the 49ers, versus the Panthers at 1-8. There's a massive talent gap between these two teams on both sides of the ball. We have Dallas coming in as 10.5-point favorites here, so a pretty big spread for the NFL. The over-under is 42.5. So the Giants come in here with a top 5 offense and a top 3 defense. Probably one of, if not the most rounded team in professional football right now. Dak Prescott has been going off the last 3 to 4 weeks. So they have CeeDee Lamb, who has led the NFL the last 4 weeks in receiving yards. I think he's averaging like 160 yards the last 4 weeks straight. So this team is loaded, and it's really hard to score on them. Then you have the Panthers with Bryce Young. They have virtually no weapons, so they're going to get shut down. So I have Dallas winning this game 30-17, covering the spread, and I'm going with the over. At 1 p.m. on CBS, we have the 3-6 Titans led by Will Levis versus the 6-3 Jaguars led by Trevor Lawrence. Jacksonville 7-point favorites here, over under 39.5. So with the Titans, Will Levis had 2 really good starts, and then he had 2 really bad starts. So they've kind of adapted the game plans to him. For the Jaguars, they're 6-3. Trevor Lawrence is having a really bad year so far this year. He has yet to clear 250 yards passing, and it's week 11. They must get him back on track. To compete in your conference, in your division, you must be able to throw the ball at some point. You can't just play running the ball. That's fine, but that's not going to help you once it gets to the playoffs, because a lot of these teams can score fast and they can score quick. So Jacksonville needs to get things back on track offensively. Last week, they got curb stomped by the 49ers at home like 45-3. So they have to get the offense right. But this is the perfect team to do that because the Titans have a pretty good defense, but they have absolutely no offense. So Jacksonville should be able to control this game at home. I do have the Jags winning 24-17, so we're going with the push there, and I'm going with the over. At 1 p.m. on CBS, we have the 2-8 Cardinals versus the 5-4 Texans. Houston is 4.5-point favorites here. The over-under is 48.5. So with the Cardinals, they do have Kyler Murray back. He came back last weekend. He had a really good second half. They did win the game. Now they have no defense. With the offense, there's a lot of question marks there just because Kyler Murray just came back. And we have not seen this guy play in like 2 years. But he had a pretty good second half this past weekend. So props to him. It's just, what are the Cardinals playing for? Do you want to take the chance to keep winning? Because then you're going to keep dropping further in the draft. So I personally would want to be throwing these games. And then you have the Texans coming in at 5-4. They have the offensive rookie of the year right now, C.J. Stroud, having one of the best quarterback rookie years ever. He has 2,600 yards, 15 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's been having some really good games right here. They have the way better playmakers. So they have C.J. Stroud, they have Collins. Both of these teams do not have good defenses. So there is the possibility that this game could be a complete shootout. But Houston, 4.5-point favorites here, over under 48.5. I have Houston getting the win here just because they are the more rounded team and they have everything to play for. Cardinals have nothing to play for. I have the Texans winning 30-24, covering that spread, and I'm going with the over. At 4:05 p.m. on Fox, we have the 4-5 Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the 6-3 San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco is 11.5-point favorites here. Really big spread. And the over-under is 41.5. So with Tampa Bay, they have a top 15 defense, and they have a pretty good rush defense. They have Baker. They have a pretty good wide receiver core. For the 49ers, just like the Cowboys, this is one of the best overall rosters in the country. Probably the best roster. They are 6-3. They were on a 3-game losing streak, but they came out and they curbstomped Jacksonville in Jacksonville. So this game should not be close. 49ers have the way better team. They have a top 3 defense and they have a top 10 offense. So I have San Francisco cruising to the win here at home, 27-17. I have them not covering the spread, but I am going with the over. A lot of over games so far this week. At 4:25 on CBS, we have the in-state matchup, the 4-5 Jets versus the 5-5 Bills. This is a game of the almost 500 teams. Buffalo is 7-point favorites here, over under 39.5. So the Jets have a top 5 defense. That's the thing that's gotten them 4 wins. It's a dang shame because this should be Rodgers versus Allen, but it's Wilson versus a beat-up Bills with Allen. So the Jets have Zach Wilson here. He cannot get into a shootout. So if you score fast, if you score quick, he will not be able to keep up. He's a 150 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick guy. He won't lose you the game, but he's definitely not going to win you the game. So the Jets have been winning solely off of that defense, but that was bound to catch up with them. They just don't have the playmakers there because Rodgers is gone. Bills, how are they 500 right now? 5-5. People are definitely going to be fired this offseason, not just Ken Dorsey getting fired. They got to clean the whole staff out, start over. They wasted Josh Allen's best years. But the Bills still have a top 10 defense. They have Josh Allen, they have Cook, they have Diggs. Look for the Bills to get the win here, but it is a very good defense, so they might keep it close first half. But I have Bills winning 24-13, so I have them covering the spread, but I'm going to go with the under. Next game we have at 4:25 on CBS, we have the 6-3 Seattle Seahawks, a very well-rounded team. They have top 15 offense, they have a top 15 defense, versus the Rams at 3-6. Seattle is 1-point favorites here, so this game is virtually a pick-em. Over-under is 46.5. So with this game, like I said, Seattle is a very good team, very under-the-radar team. Geno Smith is having a decent year, not as good as last year, but they have some good playmakers. So they have Walker, they have Metcalf, so they can run it, they can throw it. Rams' defense is complete hot trash. They can't stop anyone, but they actually don't have a bad offense. But the question is, will Stafford play? They have Kupp, they have Nakua, so they have the playmakers there. It's just they're not able to keep up with anyone because Stafford has been banged up the whole year and their defense hasn't stopped anyone. I have Seattle getting the win here no matter whether Stafford plays or not. They're going to win 27-20, so I'm going with the over, and I have them covering that spread. Next game Sunday night at 8:20 p.m. on NBC, we have the 6-4 Vikings versus the 4-5 Broncos. Denver is surprisingly the favorites here. They are the 2.5-point favorites here. Over-under is 42.5. So with this game, you have Minnesota, which has actually been kind of a Cinderella story. So they lost Justin Jefferson, and they went on a winning streak. They lost Kirk Cousins, and they've continued the winning streak. They pick up Josh Dobbs. He's there for 1 hour, starts the game, wins. He's now 2-0 as the starter. So that's pretty cool for them. but the Cinderella story is bound to end at some point. The guy has only been on this team for like 10 days. They're going to lose, and the Broncos have actually been pretty hot. Since they got curb stomped by the Dolphins by 70 points, they've actually played a lot better since then, but their defense is giving up close to 28 points per game, but those numbers are kind of teetered because they gave up 70 versus the Dolphins. But the defense has played well the last few weeks. Russell Wilson is not making mistakes. He's not throwing for very many yards, but he's throwing for touchdowns and no picks. He's only getting about 150 yards per game, but that's because they don't need him to throw for more. So they're not asking for anything from him that he can't do. So Broncos, to me, are just the better, hotter team right now. So I definitely see why they are favored. I have the Broncos winning this game 24-21. I have them covering, and I'm going with the over. Now, if Kirk Cousins was there, Vikings win. If Jefferson was there, then they win by 10 points. And our final game on Monday at 8:15 on ABC, we have the 8-1 Philadelphia Eagles, the most wins in football right now, versus the Chiefs at 7-2. So this is a rematch of the Super Bowl. Kansas City comes into this game as 2.5-point favorites here, and the over-under 45.5. So this is a tough game because these are both two pretty good teams. For the Eagles, the O-line is not as good as it was last year, but it's still a top 3 line. They have Jalen Hurts, who's throwing for a lot of picks so far this year, and he has been banged up, but they are coming off the bye, so he might be arrested here. They have a lot of playmakers. They have way more playmakers than the Chiefs. They have Hurts, they have Smith, they have A.J. Brown, who is having a record-setting year so far this year, and then you have the Chiefs. Chiefs have a top 3 defense right now. They can get after the quarterback, so they are going to be looking to hit Hurts and to bottle him up to keep him from scrambling, but they don't have the playmakers. So outside of Kelsey, they have no wide receiver threats. That's their biggest issue, but this year, they're actually relying on the defense to win the games, and the offense just has to get scores when needed. I have the Chiefs winning this one due to their defensive performance, and the offense can score when they have to. I have the Chiefs winning 28-23, so I have them covering that spread, and I'm going with the over. The teams on buys, we have the Falcons, Colts, Patriots, and the Saints. That's my breakdown of the Sunday best bets. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks.